Once upon a time, nestled deep in the heart of a quiet African village, a girl named Ruth was born into a humble middle-class family. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Daniel, were alive, healthy, and loving. But like many villagers, they wanted more for their daughter. Ruth was their pride, their only child, and their joy. Ruth was bright, determined, and burning with ambition. After writing her WAEC exams, she expressed her desire to write JAM and pursue a degree in nursing. But there was a catch. There was no JAM center in their remote village. With faith in her eyes, she approached her parents. "Mama, Papa, I want to go live with Uncle Great in the city. I need to write JAMB. Please." Mr. and Mrs. Daniel exchanged glances. Though their hearts ached at the thought of letting her go, they knew this was Ruth's only chance. With heavy hearts and hopeful prayers, they agreed. Uncle Great, Mr. Daniel's younger brother, was a kind man who lived in the bustling city with his wife, Mrs. Matthew, and their daughter Anita. The Oha family, however, carried a heavy ancestral curse. Due to a betrayal of their ancient deity, no male child would ever be born in their lineage. It was their eternal punishment. So in the city household, Anita, a lively girl Ruth's age, was also an only child. The moment Ruth arrived, the family welcomed her with open arms. Anita ran to her, hugged her tightly, and insisted they share the same room. From that day on, the girls became inseparable, laughing, playing Ludo, eating, praying, and studying side by side. Uncle Great, determined to give the girls a head start, hired a JAM tutor to teach them English, biology, and mathematics. That tutor's name was Henry. At first glance, Henry seemed like a regular man, handsome, quiet, and intelligent. But behind that smile was a mountain of pain. Henry was once a top student, one of the best, graduating from the university in 2014. His future had seemed bright, but years passed and no good job came. He watched as his less brilliant course mates soared, flaunting their wealth while he struggled to survive. Frustrated and bitter, Henry juggled tutoring jobs with night shifts as a security guard for a rich, arrogant woman who insulted him daily. Humiliation became his routine. One humid evening, Henry met up with an old university friend named Prince at a beer parlor. Prince, now dripping in luxury, paid for the drinks and pepper soup. "Henry," Prince said, swirling his drink, "you were the brain back then. Why are you still suffering?" "I'm tired, Prince," Henry sighed. "I want to be rich. I'll do anything." Prince leaned back with a grin. "Anything you say?" Henry nodded without hesitation. Prince's eyes darkened. "Then you're ready." The next night, Henry met Prince at the junction near Vogue Hotel. They drove in silence to a large, eerie mansion hidden at the end of a lonely street. There, Henry was introduced to a mysterious chief priest draped in red robes and cowries. "My son," the priest said calmly, "we do not kill, we do not harm, but to unlock your wealth, you must sacrifice purity." Henry's heart raced. "You must find a girl, aged between 14 and 17. She must be alive. Buy a casket, keep it in your room, and gently lay her inside. Give her this enchanted sweet bracelet. She'll follow you willingly. Bathe her daily. Feed her this black water. On the third day, your room will overflow with dollars. But beware, you have only 3 days to complete this task, or death shall embrace you." Henry swallowed hard but nodded. "Can I choose the girl?" "Yes, but she must be pure," the priest said. "Your time starts now." Back home, Henry lay in bed, his heart pounding like war drums. Who would he choose? Then it hit him, the girls. Anita. Ruth. He smiled to himself. Ruth was perfect, quiet, gentle, trusting. The next morning, Henry arrived at the Matthew household, hiding his intentions behind his usual friendly face. Ruth opened the door. "Good morning, Ruth. Go call your cousin. We need to start. Jam is around the corner." As the lesson began, Henry stared at Ruth longer than usual. Her innocence, her soft smile, it all made her the perfect target. He whispered to himself, "She's the one." But what Henry didn't know was this. Ruth wasn't just any girl. She was her parents' miracle child, a child born after years of barrenness, a child fiercely protected by ancient spiritual forces, watching closely from the shadows. And as Henry plotted his betrayal, Unseen eyes were watching and waiting. Dark clouds loomed that morning, as if the heavens sensed what was about to unfold. Henry, now driven by greed and desperation, carefully sent Anita on a quick errand. "Anita, please buy bread from the supermarket across the road," he said with a calm, rehearsed smile. As soon as she left, he turned to Ruth. "Ruth," he said gently, "do you like sweets?" Ruth beamed innocently. "Yes, Uncle Henry, I love sweets." Henry chuckled. Hands trembled slightly. "Good girl. Try this one. It's the best sweet you'll ever taste." She smiled and unwrapped the candy, placing it into her mouth. Moments later, her eyelids fluttered, her balance wavered. "I feel dizzy," she murmured. Before she could fall, Henry quickly slipped the enchanted wrist bangle onto her hand. Her eyes glazed over. She stood still, docile, like a puppet. Henry wasted no time. He carried her out through the back door, carefully checking that no one was watching. By the time Anita returned with the bread, there was no sign of Ruth or the teacher. "Where's Ruth?" Anita asked aloud, looking around in confusion. Hours passed. Night came. Still no Ruth. When Mrs. Matthew returned home, Anita rushed to her in panic. "Mummy, Ruth is missing. I came back and neither she nor the teacher were here." Mrs. Matthew frowned, but brushed it off. "Maybe she went somewhere. Let's wait till morning." Anita shook her head. "Mummy, please, let's call her parents. Something is wrong." "No," Mrs. Matthew said firmly. "We can't bring shame to our name. They trusted us. Let's wait another day." But that day turned into 3. And in those 3 days, deep inside Henry's dimly lit room, Ruth lay lifelessly in the casket. Her body was there, untouched, but her spirit, her soul, had left. Henry performed the rituals with eerie precision, giving her the black water each morning and bathing her body. Then on the 3rd day, just as the priest said, money began to rain. Dollars, fresh and crisp, appeared under his bed, behind his walls, inside his drawers. Henry screamed in joy, rolling on the floor, laughing like a madman. He called Prince and shouting, "What? I've made it! I'm rich! Thank you, my brother! Thank you!" Prince, lounging in a jacuzzi, smirked and replied, "Welcome to the table of men. Enjoy." But in the Oha household, chaos had erupted. Mr. Matthew finally swallowed his pride and called Ruth's parents. "What did you say?" Mr. Daniel screamed through the phone. "You mean my daughter has been missing for 3 days and you're just calling now?" "We didn't want to cause panic," Mrs. Matthew stuttered. "You better hope nothing happens to my daughter," Mr. Daniel roared, "because if it does, I swear, this family will not recover." Within hours, Mr. and Mrs. Daniel packed their bags and drove down to the city, storming their relative's house in fury. Police were involved. Flyers were made. Streets were searched. Yet Ruth remained missing. Days turned to weeks. Then one night, as Mrs. Daniel slept, a strange wind blew into her room. Her curtain lifted on its own. Then a faint voice whispered, "Mama, Mama, come for me." Ruth stood in her dream, wearing a white dress, eyes filled with tears. "Mama, I'm alive, but I'm trapped. Find me. Look behind the yellow house near Junction Road. That's where I am." Mrs. Daniel woke with a scream. Sweat soaked her nightgown. She gasped for breath and woke her husband. "I saw her, Daniel. I saw our daughter. She's alive. She showed me the place, Junction Road, behind a yellow house." Though hesitant, Mr. Daniel agreed to check. With 2 police officers and Mrs. Daniel leading the way, they reached Junction Road. At the end of a silent lane stood a faded yellow building, Henry's house. The door was locked, but a foul stench escaped from inside. The officers broke it open. What they saw made them freeze. A casket in the center of the room, and inside it, Ruth, pale, weak, but breathing. Mrs. Daniel screamed and rushed to her daughter. "Ruth, my baby, my baby!" They rushed her to the hospital. Her body was dehydrated, frail, but miraculously still alive. The doctors said it was beyond science. It was spiritual. Henry, on the other hand, began to go mad. On the 4th day, he woke up to find blood dripping from his ceiling. His money turned to ashes. He screamed. hearing Ruth's voice echo in his head. You took my body, but not my soul. He ran into the streets naked, screaming, laughing, crying. I'm rich! I'm rich! Bees are coming! Ruth is flying! He was arrested and taken to a psychiatric facility. Prince, hearing the news, tried to flee the city, but on his escape, a speeding trailer crashed into his car on 3rd Mainland Bridge. He died instantly. The police raided the mansion used for the ritual. The chief priest was captured and his temple destroyed. He now rots in prison, his powers useless in a world of law and justice. At the hospital, Ruth finally opened her eyes. Her voice was weak. Mama, she whispered, I miss my jam. Mrs. Daniel cried with joy. Forget jam, my child. You are alive. That's what matters. A week later, Ruth was discharged and returned home. Her parents threw a Thanksgiving. The entire village rejoiced. Mr. and Mrs. Matthew visited, heads bowed in shame. We are sorry, we failed you, they said. Mr. Daniel sighed. We trusted you with our jewel, but we forgive you. Let's move forward. Ruth never returned to live in the city again, but her story became a warning to every girl in the village. Not all smiles are friendly, not all teachers mean well. And so the family lived happily, cherishing every moment, every breath, and every memory, knowing how close they came to losing it all. The end. Please kindly subscribe to this YouTube channel to watch and listen to more interesting stories than this.